Hi everyone, welcome back to this week's video. My name's Molly, but my friends call me Mole, and I run a small sewing business from home called Frock and Mole. Okay, so today's video is going to be a little pattern review. I'm going to be looking at the Republique du Chiffon Louis trousers. Now, I made these last week and I upcycled some trousers to make them, and I was really pleased with the outcome. So I'm going to link the video up here for you guys to go and check out if you haven't already seen that, and let me know what you think in the comments. Also, before I get started, if you're new to my channel, do consider subscribing somewhere down here, I think. I really appreciate it, and it helps me to understand what you guys want me to make, and yeah, what sort of videos you guys are into. Yeah, I would really appreciate it, so please do. So let's get cracking with this review. Now, first things first, which I mentioned in my video last week, I absolutely love the packaging. So it is made from, I guess, would you call it a manila? A cardboard envelope, which is recycled, really nice, and it came with this fastening here in the back. So it's just got a really cool string fastening. Not that I'm going to be able to do this backwards. And it came with this cool gold sticker that fastened it, and I was going to put that on there, but yeah, anyway, not that you need to. Okay, so yeah, and the front is just a sticker on there. Now this pattern, before I open it up, is, yeah, so like I said, Louis trousers, comes in sizes 34 to 46. It says on here sewing level 4 out of 4, so I guess that means advanced in their world, but when you look on the website it actually says that it's 3 out of 4, so I'm not sure. Yeah, I guess this isn't a pattern for a beginner, but it wasn't terribly hard. I guess if you took your time you'd be able to do it. Yeah, I don't think it was super hard. This cost me €16, which is £13.90 in British pounds when I checked this morning, so it might have been different when I bought it, especially with all this Brexit stuff. Yeah, so that is the pattern. I'm just going to open it up. So I ordered it from their website, and it only gave me the option for a paper pattern. I probably would have gone PDF. I normally do. And so when I got it, it came with a nice little note. It's in French, so I can't read it. But it looks like it's from Caroline or Caroline. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it in French. But yes, it comes with a nice personalised card, which I handwritten, which I thought was really sweet. Let's start with the actual pattern paper. So like I said, Republique du Chiffon is a French company, and they do offer this with an English translation. But what I would say is that the actual pattern pieces don't have an English translation on them. So I'm going to open this out so you can see. What I've done is, hopefully you're going to be able to see that. If I just show you the top one here, is what I did. Let me just pop that down there. In the actual booklet it comes with, which looks like this. Yep, so it's just a paper booklet like this. It does have French to English translation in the front here, which I will just show you. And so what I did is I just transferred these over onto my pattern paper down there, and just made sure I popped all of the translations. So they're all numbered, which makes it easier. And then I guess the good thing about this is you learn a little bit of French along the way. Okay, so that's the only thing that I thought was slightly more time consuming, but I suppose it's not a huge deal, but it's not as convenient as if it was printed on there in English, as they've made this instruction booklet in English. Okay, so I will just give you a little overview of what they've written on the front so that you get an idea of the trousers. Okay, so it says here, the Louis trousers have a comfortable cut that will fit all shapes, yokes and cut that can be top stitched for added style, and combined with invisible pockets at the front and patch pockets at the back to lend it a vintage style. And it's got fabric recommendations on the front, so it says you can use corduroy, light wool, gabardine or denim to adapt it to the season, which I guess is handy. So yeah, you've got a nice little overview there with your line drawing in the front there. Okay, so sizing wise, I guess it's 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So it doesn't have a huge size range. And it says that this was drafted for a 5'5", which I kind of am. I think I'm 5'4", 5'5", I'm not sure. So I suppose that was handy for the length of the trousers. And the sizing chart is metric. So if you're used to imperial, yeah, it comes in metric. And it's also got the fabric width and suggestions, which I guess they've put the biggest size, so they haven't done it according to each size. They've done it, I guess it's just an overview, so I guess the sizing of fabric that they've popped on here is considering the biggest size. So I definitely didn't use as much as it says in here, so maybe they should have, I don't know, do they do that on all patterns? You guys let me know. I think so far in the ones that I've been using, they kind of bracket, I think maybe like 6 to 8, this much fabric, 8 to 12, this much fabric kind of thing, but this one doesn't. Also with this pattern, it doesn't have any seam allowance included, so you have to remember to pop that on when you draft your pattern, or when you trace it out. That's what I normally do when you trace it out. Luckily, all the seam allowances are 1 centimetre apart from 5 centimetres on the hem, and there's no seam allowance on the fly and the fly facing, so you know, it's not too much to remember. But this might not be relevant to you, but when I trained, we didn't include seam allowance then, so it was easier to adapt the pattern. So I guess I'm used to not having seam allowance, so it wasn't too much of a problem for me, but it might be annoying for you. Let me know if you'd find that annoying in the comments. Yes, so if I just show you the translation again, is a column for the translation, how much to cut, and the seam allowances down here, just to make it really easy for you. And yeah, so that's kind of the booklet. And the translation inside the booklet is actually really good, so no problems there whatsoever. It'd probably help if I had the trousers. I've just realised I've left them over there on the iron, and I was meant to iron them and I forgot to iron them. So I'm just gonna go and grab them very quickly. Okay, I've got the trousers. So I have worn these, they're a little bit fluffy. So the fabric that I chose to make these attracts all the lint, I guess, and also I wore them in the week and the dog jumped up at me, which I was going to wipe down, but I'd forgotten to, so you have to ignore them, the mucky dog prints on these. But yeah, I'll just grab them ready. Okay, so I've written a few things here, if I keep looking over here, just so that I remember what I was going to say. So the first thing that I would have done slightly differently is, in the trousers here, you can see that it's got a slanted pocket, and in the instructions it didn't say to interface the pocket lining here, and I think having worn them, it feels like it needs a bit more weight behind this pocket, so that's the only thing I would say, that I would probably face this pocket lining if I made these again, which I probably would because I really like them. They're really cool. Okay, so that's the first thing there. Instructions wise, there were just a few things that I thought, but I guess because this is aimed at an advanced sewer, that I thought perhaps would be slightly confusing. Now the first thing that confused me, but it's probably because I'm really simple, is that it kept saying finish the pieces, which obviously means overlock or serge. But yeah, I was really silly and it took me a while to think, what do they mean? Oh yeah, they actually mean finish the edges of the pieces. Yeah, so that's first things first there. Also, it doesn't really give any preference to how you sew the side seams. So if you're a beginner, it doesn't say overlock or finish the edges and then sew the sides. It just says put the pieces together, so I guess you've got to decide yourself. So yeah, but yeah, it's a level 4 out of 4, so I suppose you're meant to just know. Okay, so towards the end of the booklet is where a few of the things, I guess if you are slightly unconfident, that you might find confusing. Now before I get to that, I just want to talk to you about the trouser fly. Okay, so in my experience, I haven't sewn many trousers from scratch because like I said, I haven't made many things myself, which is just stupid. But I have altered many jeans, and what I tend to find, which was slightly different from these, is that The jeans that I alter, usually the zip is attached to the fly and then the fly is sewn onto the fabric or the trouser. But with these, you sew it all in one go. So let me know in the comments below if that is really standard and maybe just the jeans that I've altered, they're not sewn together. But I guess it's not a huge issue. That's just what I found different with these trousers. Okay, so coming towards the end of the instructions, these are just a few of the things that I found and that you might find slightly confusing, but I'll just be quite quick about it. Okay, so the first thing I found slightly confusing was, and I might be, maybe you're meant to say this slightly differently, is they ask you to sew the button loops. So basically when you bag out the waistband, the button loops have already been sewn onto the waistband. And then after that stage, it asks you to top stitch all along this edge here. And I'm wondering, I mean, obviously you can't get your foot under here to sew. So I'm wondering whether it wanted me to sew on top of this ever so slightly. I'm not really sure, let me know what you think. But I didn't in the end, I decided to leave it because I preferred it looking like this. In jeans that I have seen, usually the top of the belt loop is left unfastened or not sewn down, and then you can sew along the waistband and then you would sew this down separately. So that just might be this pattern, but I did wonder how you could top stitch this with the belt loops in the way without having to go underneath and then starting a line of stitching again. Yeah, so that's one thing that I found slightly confusing with the button loops. But like I said, maybe I'm being really simple. Let me know in the comments below. Yeah, and then so the buttonhole was really not confusing actually, that's a lie, it's not confusing. So after the top stitching, I will just show you this. So after you have top stitched your, there we go, after you've top stitched the waistband, this is literally all the instructions left to finish it, so it's really simple. So it just says literally sew the button, and there's no markings on the pattern, so you kind of got to decide where you want the button to be completely. And it gives you a suggestion for button size, so I guess you can work out your buttonhole length if you take off that 3mm. But yeah, it doesn't really say where to place it, but I looked at some existing trousers to work out where I wanted it to go. So I suppose that's quite vague if you've not done it before. You kind of just decide where you want the buttonhole to go, and then also hemming the trousers, which I guess you can do any way you like, but it just said make a hem. That was literally it, make a hem. So I didn't have much length on these, so all I've done, which is really basic, is I've overlocked it and turned it up. But ideally what I would do is sort of do a double turn to give it a nice finish on the inside, but I didn't with these. But yeah, I guess if you're a confident sewer, you would just do it anyway and it's not a problem. But if you are a beginner, just a few of those things are vague. That's kind of my feelings about the manual or the booklet. Really, really good, except for towards the end, it's just slightly less detailed. So if you're a newbie sewer, you might feel slightly unconfident just to go ahead and sew a button if it hasn't told you at all where to place it or how big it needs to be or anything. Okay. And the last thing I would say about this is I think they've missed a trick because they haven't put any hashtags on there for Instagram. So on the patterns I've seen before, they usually say share your pictures, follow our hashtag, and they haven't on this one, so I think they've kind of missed a trick for a little bit of self-promotion. But yeah, apart from that, I would highly recommend these trousers. I think they're a really cool pattern. I really like the yoke in the back, and someone suggested a pattern for me on Instagram. Check out my Instagram, I'll put the handle somewhere around here for you to go and check it out. In one of my stories, I kind of asked about some trousers that I could make, and they suggested a pair of, am I gonna get these wrong? So I'm gonna prop it in properly. I think it's like a named clothing from their, it's called Breaking the Pattern book. Anyway, they seem to have a similar yoke, so I decided I wasn't going to make those, but yeah, I think they might be slightly similar to those trousers if you've made those. And yeah, I think they're really cool. I think especially if you have these contrasting features, you kind of make the most of the details. It kind of highlights the details, should I say. But yes, all in all, it's a pretty good pattern. It's got lovely packaging. It seems nice and eco-friendly. It's got the nice personal touch of the note. Yeah, so I would say for any of you out there who's considering making the Republique du Chiffon Louis trousers, go and do it. It's a cool pattern, and just go slowly maybe towards the end if you're feeling unsure, or have a look at some other trousers. But yeah, so hopefully that has been helpful to somebody out there. Let me know in the comments below if you've made these trousers or if you plan to make them. If you have made them, leave a link to, I don't know if it's on your Instagram or a blog or something, so that we can all check them out. That would be really helpful. Okay, so that's it for this week's video. I will see you all next Wednesday at the same time. Don't forget to like, give me a big thumbs up, subscribe down here, hit that notification bell so that you get next week's video, because obviously it's going to be totally amazing. And I will see you all next week. Bye.